Hi everybody, welcome to Scotch Kitchen. Thank you again for joining. It's been a long time since we did a live video, but that said, let's get on with it. So I've just decided to come and do like a very quick video of how to marinate your meat. So I have my meat here with myself, and then I have some seasoning going on. And again, so before we do the normal, I'll just go ahead and give me 1 second and do some shares so that I can share the video so that we can have some more people to come and basically learn how to just bear with me, how to marinate their meat. Yeah, so if you just bear with me 1 second. I hope your week is okay so far. Mine is fine, thank you. Just getting on with it. A few stuff to do, as you can see right in front of me. I have lots of meat that I'm going to prepare today, but because I'm seasoning earlier, it's normally good. Just bear with me 1 second. Just turning that off so that I cannot be I cannot hear, because I'm feeling as if I'm really talking really loudly. So with that, that's much better. Okay, now we are here. So okay. Okay, oops. It's been long, so guys, just bear with me. I'm always the same, yeah? Still trying to learn these tactics of so that I can be able to run a video. So if you bear with me 1 second, and I will go. Okay, I think that's okay. So, oh sorry. I think that should be okay. So what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wash my hands. I'm just putting my phone away. I'm going to wash my hands, and then what I'm going to do next, I'm going to go through what I have in front of me so that you guys can be able to try this at home. And because when you're preparing meat, it's always good to marinate it much earlier, maybe half an hour earlier. Or if you don't have time, you can always marinate it maybe 24 hours in advance, or anytime you want. But the more, the marination actually makes the meat really nice and soft. Apart from that, it also, if you do it much earlier, the meat absorbs the nutrients it needs. So that's the advantage of it. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to wash my hands really quick. And then after washing my hands, I'm going to go through what I have right in front of me so that you guys can see. Okay. So I have a lot of meat because I'm preparing it for people. So it's good for me. So there we are. You can see that. So if you're doing this at home for your own, for your family, for example, and you decide to buy a heap of meat the way I've just done that, but those are different. These are orders, so that's the difference. If you have, you're buying a heap for your family, what you can do, wash your meat. So these are pork chops. So what you can do, you can wash your meat. After washing your meat, you can add a bit of lemon as well, so that it can get rid of the smell, but adds a bit of flavor to it. And then marinate everything, and then you can divide them into slices or pieces as per the people who are going to preparing for, and then you can store it in the freezer. When you're ready to prepare it, let's say you're preparing it in the evening, just make sure you remove it in the morning. Don't defrost it through the microwave, because the microwave actually drains off the lovely juiciness and the spice that you will have already mixed. So what you can do when you're ready to prepare the meat, you need to remove the meat and put it in the fridge, at the bottom of the fridge, and let it just defrost on its own. And when you're ready to cook, remove it outside again for a few more minutes, and then you prepare it. So for myself, I'm seasoning this now because I need to prepare it later in the evening. That's why I'm doing it now. So I have my lamb chops here, as you can see. And then another thing, when you are doing a marination, you need to always put all the stuff you need in front of you, because I tend to mix most of the stuff using my hands, and you don't want to be going up and down and bringing more things and touching stuff. So again, it avoids contamination and things like that. So I've prepared, so as you have shown you guys, I have my meat here. It's a lot. So I have my meat here, everything. And then I have my empty bowl. That's where I'm going to be mixing everything. And then I have my spices. So this is special Scotch spices, but again, you can make your own spices. I'm going to tell you the other basic spices that I'm going to use, which you can use as well. But this is specifically for this meal I'm making, yeah? But if you want to know more about Scotch kitchen spices, we are on patreon.com. You can join us for a fee every month, and you can be able to access all our spices and all the content, basically the measurements that we use for our spices. So this is my lovely special ingredients. I agree, every chef has a secret recipe. So this is Scotch secret recipe. I'm going to put that on the side. Don't worry about that so much. Then again, another thing, what I normally do, I normally buy packs of spices, and I keep my glass tins. I normally keep my glass tins, and what I normally do with this, with my glass tins, I will only move what I need in here. Make sure the tin you're using can be sealed properly, and then you need to label it wherever it is. So for me, this one is what I've just topped up today. So this is my tandoori masala. I'm going to label it and put the dates that I've put. Again, it helps you know the date you started using it, and after a few days, because only this takes me a few days to use. Again, if you want to use it for a long time, make sure you put the date and always check on it to make sure that the spice is good. Basically, you can use it again. For you to be able to know that the spice is okay, every time you open it, it should have an aroma. If it doesn't have an aroma, there's something bad with that spices. That means it's not going to be as effective as it's meant to be. So I have my tandoori masala here, which I've put in this tin, and I normally do exactly the same. I use a lot of paprika, and that is what I do again. And that's just an empty, plain tin. You can go on and buy like some Tupperware and use the Tupperware to store your spices if you wish to. But again, you can just use the empty bottles that you get for your pasta sauce or different sauces that you use. So you can always use those things. Again, it's up to you. If you want to buy the Tupperwares, let me show you one of the Tupperware that I have. So I have this one. That's one of the Tupperwares. Again, just make sure you can seal it properly, and then make sure you can actually put a label in and just store it. It makes work easier for you. It makes work easier for you, and also saves you a lot of money instead of buying the small packs of spices. I use a lot of spices, so I tend to buy the big ones, and that's what I tend to use frequently. So let me wash my hands really quick because I've touched that. Again, another thing you have to remember is when I'm doing my marination, I add oil into my meat. Even though you will realize that the meat I'm doing, the pork I'm doing today, has a bit of fat. That's natural fat. That's amazing. The natural fat is good. Don't get rid of that. It helps with the cooking, and it makes the meat nice and soft. Same to the additional fat is this is going to avoid your meat to be dry, because sometimes you grill your meat or you bake your meat, and then after a few hours you realize your meat is starting to become really hard. When you add a bit of oil onto there, the oil is what makes the meat stay moist. It stays moist for a period of time that you're cooking it, until when you put it down to rest. When you're resting it, you have to cover it with some foil paper, again, to retain the moist. And then your meat is going to be really nice and juicy. if you don't put oil, what some people always, the mistakes people always do is, the one, they don't put any oil on their meat. Then two, they remove the lovely fat. Let me show you guys. Let me pick one of the meats so that I can show you guys. Okay, these are the mistakes, common mistakes people do. I don't like fat. Then they go ahead and cut off that because they want to be like super healthy. It's okay to be healthy, but do you realize this fat on here is also healthy because that is what was protecting the animal when the animal was alive. So this fat is okay. There's nothing wrong with this fat. What you can do is this. Prepare your meat with this fat there. When you are about to eat it, you can chop this off and you will still have your healthy meat left with you. So don't remove this before you actually preparing it. If you're grilling it or if you are baking it. If you are, also if you're, for example, using the hob directly like a griddle pan, you need that. Or if you remove this, make sure you use this oil as on the surface to make sure that your meat stays really nice and soft and moist. Sorry, not really nice and soft only, really nice and moist. Yeah. So that's the reason why you should not get rid of that fat when you're preparing the meat. You can get rid of that fat after you've prepared your meat, and that is okay. Yeah. So okay, let's go ahead. So you will see me adding a little bit of oil onto my meat. And then I will show you guys what you do with your meat after you've also marinated it. So, not everybody prefer using their hands when they are actually preparing the meat. Some people just prefer putting in gloves and things like that. I prefer using my hands because I like the feel of it. That's where I normally give some love to my meat when I'm actually preparing it. Okay, another thing I do, you realize I have spoons on my bowls that I'm using for my spices. The main reason I'm doing that is because when you're adding the different spices, you don't want to mix up the spoons you're using when you're doing your mix up. So it's just a bit of it's an easy thing that you have to remember, but it's also a technical thing because the moment you use the same spoon onto all your spices, you are actually contaminating all those spices. Then you can't use them again because you've actually used the same spoon on all of them. So interchanging spoon is not a big deal. You can actually get 3 or 5 spoons there and you just interchange as you go. Washing the spoons should not be a big difference. Again, if you're in the kitchen, washing is not supposed to be a problem. Okay, so let's go ahead and start doing this. So an empty bowl, I'm just gonna give it a quick over clean. Yeah, nice and empty. Get your oil. So my oil is already measured in here. And I'm going to put a little bit of my oil onto the base of this. And I'm going to spread my oil. The main reason why I'm doing this, now this part helps me when I've completed doing my seasoning. It's going to make it easier for me to actually do the cleaning. The next part, add your meat. So, as you've seen, I have I have a lot of meat to go through, so I'm just going to do it in bits, yeah? So I'm going to go ahead and start adding my spices. Let's make a bit of space so that you guys should be able to see me. Yeah, there you go, that's much better. You should be able to see my spices as well. Thank you everybody for joining. Bit of a weird day. We've not been able to do a live video for a period of time. I've been busy, but here I am. So let's get on with it. So that goes the Scotch special spice or the secret ingredients. And then I'm going to go with my tandoori masala. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my paprika. So I know you're wondering, oh, what's in this special spice or what's in the secret recipe? What I can advise you to do, you just need to join Patreon.com and you'll have access to Scotch Kitchen spices. And you need, it's a fee, you have to pay, I paid £2.90, no sorry, £1.90 for people in England, and it's about $2 for people in the US or anybody using dollars, and it's about €1, about €2.10 as well, and it's about 200 Kenyan shillings if you're in Kenya. For other people using different currencies, I'm not sure how much it is, but again, it's just a matter of converting that into the currency that you use. Go to patreon.com and you just look for Scotch Kitchen and you will have access to the correct measurements and all the spices that I use. For example, this is a mixture of my spices that I put together to be able to give my meat some flavor. So you should be able to find that there. Coming back here. So if you want to, me being Scotch, I have to be nice. So I have my tandoori masala paprika. You can use some garlic, you can use some ginger, and any other spice you want, you can add up to that and you can add that as flavor. Remember, we've added our secret spices, paprika, tandoori, and now the next one is our oil. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil. Just be gentle with the oil. You don't need too much oil, you don't need too much, a little oil. You just need enough oil. So if you just bear with me, I'm going to put my phone back there and give my hand a quick rinse again. Yes, we're going to rinse. So, okay. Let's give this a bit mixture. So you want to make sure all your meat is marinated evenly, yeah? This is going to be a bit of a long process, but it's better for you to do this. If you were preparing this for your family, as I said earlier on, I need to buy a phone stand because that's my phone dropping off the wall. That's okay. Anyway, back to here. If you're a busy person, you're always working Monday till Friday, and you want to make it, you want to feel like, oh, I think I should start preparing my own meals at home, you can be able to do that. Buy your meat, maybe on the weekend or maybe once a month, up to you how you want to do it. And then you can always put a day, designate one day where you do all your spices. So you can prepare all your spices just the way I'm doing now, even though this one is not for my house. This is just basically for an order that I'm preparing. But again, now imagine you're doing this for your house. You go ahead, season your meat, get the freezer bag, put all the meat inside there as per you wish, and then they go in the freezer. When you are ready to prepare, you can go through the same process of defrosting and ready. It can go in the oven, it can go in the griddle, anywhere you want to cook it. You can make stew with it because it's already seasoned and you seasoned it. That's the best thing about it. So as you can see, seasoned one of them, and you can see it's really nice and moist. Is the camera, there you go. You can see that it is perfect. You can see that it's really nice and moist, and the main reason why it's nice and moist is because of the bit of oil that we added up to there. So I have my other tray where I'm laying them, because remember I have a few to go over. So it's just going to be, again, the same process. You're just doing the same process, and you just make sure all your meat is marinated. Remember when I told you I need the spoons? This is the reason why I need the spoons. Now my hands are really nice and greasy. Yeah, but because I have the spoons, all I can do is sprinkle my spices using my spoons, not being worried that I've contaminated my spices. And that's what you need to do. Always have your spoon on there to be ready to go, right? Okay, let's do this as well. And the good thing about marination as well, when you marinate your meat, when you marinate your chicken, and you keep it there, the next time you want to actually prepare it, the flavor will be amazing. The flavor will be amazing because it's just like almost like wine. It matures by age, yeah? It's the same as marination. Marination matures by time. So if you marinate 24 hours, it's going to be really different if you marinate 48 hours. And also it's going to be different if you only marinate. Like if I marinate now and this goes directly in the oven, the flavor is going to be slightly, and I mean slightly different from the flavors of something that was marinated 48 hours ago, or something that was marinated 24 hours ago, or half an hour ago. So if you can have time, just marinate your food way in advance to make it much easier for you. I'm about to finish, by the way, which is good. So today was a quick class of how to marinate our meats. And I hope this was really like a good basic way for you to be able to learn and understand how to do marination. And then again, Not everybody prefer using spices or ingredients that you should be able to get these local shops where they grind fresh ingredients. What I normally do sometimes when I'm actually preparing some of my meals, I use whole spices. So what I do, basically fresh spices. So what I tend to do is I buy the fresh spices, so like they're in seeds, yeah? Seeds, leaves. So what I do, I mix all those spices together and just use a blender and I blend them, or a grinder. If you have spice grinder, you can just go ahead and grind all of them together. And they will actually, you can actually be able to acquire fresh spices, and the aroma is going to be really nice and strong. Spices like that that you blend, I tend to try and make sure I use the whole pack maximum within 7 days. I tend to use it within 7 days, and because I would like the essence to remain, because if it is longer than 7 days, the essence or the lovely aroma that comes out of the spices, they tend to vanish after 7 days. So if you are blending in fresh spices, it's almost just like blending in things like ginger and garlic. If you blend them, you put them in the fridge, try and use them within 7 days. After that, somehow the lovely aroma that all these spices give us, they tend to disappear. So that is also another thing you can be thinking about, because sometimes if I have a lot of time, what I tend to do is on the weekend, if I have an hour or two, I will go to the shop and buy mixed pepper, onion, garlic, ginger, all those basic spices you think of. By the way, it takes a lot of time on the day when you're doing it, but if you're doing this for the week, it actually makes your work easier. So what I think I need to do, I need to do another video where I show you guys all these lovely ingredients that I normally buy. And what I tend to do, if I know I'm going to have a very busy week, so now for my own home use, what I tend to do, I will chop my onions, I will chop my garlic, not tomatoes. Don't chop tomatoes in advance because tomatoes go bad really, really quick. So things like garlic, ginger, mixed peppers. You always go to the supermarket and you see them frozen. You buy the bag of frozen vegetables or frozen onions and things like that. You can do that yourself at home. So if you mix all that together, so that's what I tend to do. I will cut that. It takes a bit of time, and that day I will make sure I cut everything. And then after cutting everything, I put them in my freezer bag and freeze them. The day when I'm back from work and I'm really, really super tired, remember I've chopped my onions, I've chopped my garlic. The only chopping I'm going to do is only on tomatoes. Again, sometimes it's much easier to just use tin tomatoes. So I go ahead and just use my tin tomatoes. But you realize you will have cut down maybe half an hour or 45 minutes of the chopping and cutting when you're cooking. So it tells you sometimes in some meals, it tells you it only takes you 30 minutes to prepare a meal. You'll actually be preparing that meal within that 30 minutes. So if you're busy, you have a very busy schedule, you have already prepared your basic spices, you've grind your spices, put them in tins and you've covered them, dead them, don't forget to dead them. And then you've chopped your onions, you've chopped your garlic, you've chopped your ginger, you've chopped your mixed peppers, and you've put them in small bags per day, whatever you're going to use. Put them in the fridge. When you get home in the evening, your meat is already seasoned, you remove your meat and then you remove your mixed spices, whatever you want to use, and you cook them directly. Things like the vegetables and the spices I've just talked about, you do not have to defrost them. You can use them from frozen. And if you realize, if you go to your supermarket and all your frozen food, they always tell you that you can use directly from frozen. So you've also, apart from you saving a lot of money, you've also done yourself a favor by preparing all your ingredients and all your spices from scratch. You know what is inside there. And again, because so many of us these days like healthy eating and all that, you need to know, if you want to eat healthy, you should know what is in your meal. You can do that by preparing that meal by yourself. You don't need to make somebody else prepare the meal for you if you want to go into the healthy route or lane. If you do that, you will know exactly what you're putting in your meal, or you will know exactly what goes in your mouth. So again, I'm going to go through that on another video. I'll show you how to actually do the preparation for the whole week, where you can freeze the bags and use them when you need to. Just bear with me 1 second. Let me wash my hands quick, because I want to do the next step and I want you guys to see the next step. So bear with me. Remove this. Okay, so I've done my marination. Amazing. I'm just going to wipe my hands really, really quick. And what I'm going to do next is remove my spoons out of my spices and make sure you tighten all, you cover all your spices. Well, we're going to go through this as well. So this, I am not going to put in a tin because I'm going to use it in a few hours. So I'm going to just use cling film and I'm going to cover that, wrap it nicely, and I'm going to put it away. Okay, so just making sure my surface is clean so that I can show you guys my next step. So you've marinated your food. Next thing you need is, where are you going to keep? Because I'm not going to leave my meat like this. I ain't going to leave it open like that. As you can see, we've marinated it. It looks really amazing and delish, right? So I'm not going to leave my meat open. You need, if you're doing this marination for either 48 hours, 24 hours, half an hour, 1 hour before, you need something that has a cover. If you don't have a tin with a cover, you need some cling film. Don't use foil paper, because if you use foil paper, the foil paper somehow retains moisture. And when you use foil paper on your uncooked meat, it's going to retain moisture and make your meat sweat. Sweating is not good. It's not good for you. It's not good for the meat. So do not cover your uncooked food with foil paper. Foil paper is meant for cooked food. Cling film, the clear one, is the one you can use if you don't have a tin with a cover. Yeah? Let's understand that. Let's understand that. And that is for keeping our food nice and warm, nice and hot. Wrap it nice and safe, but this, the clear one, you can use it when you're, okay, so for example now I can just go ahead, after I've put my meat there, I can use this to cover that, to help because the cling film will do exactly the same thing as just a normal cover, and right, unlike the foil paper. So let's just be careful when you're doing that. Some people make a mistake of putting very hot food on the cling film. It will melt. So just be careful on that. If you're covering the food with the cling film when it is super hot, be very careful as well, because it is just going to melt it away and you don't want your food to have a bit of cling film inside, yeah? You use foil paper instead. Okay, so you've learned something there about cling film and foil paper. Get your tin where you want to store your meat. Get your oil. And again, we're going to oil our tin. We're going to oil our tin because we do not need our meat to stick on this tin, one. And then again, another thing, when it comes to cleaning, it's much easier. So what I'm going to do now, I am just going to go straight ahead and take my meat, and I'm going to put my meat in there. Going to put more. I hope all of them are going to fit in there. If not, that means I'll have to use 2 of this, which is okay. So just Arrange them nicely because mine are the big, chunky, lovely pieces. So arrange them as batch as you can. Let's see if we can actually manage to put, oh, looks like we're going to manage to put all of them. So with what I tend to do, that's the job, the good job about Scotch Kitchen. When we have like a festival or things like that, we marinate our meat a day before and we refrigerate it. And when we are traveling, we make sure it is nice and cool as well, because we have a refrigerator on our lovely mobile kitchen. Then, so all our meat is nicely packed in there. Next thing you need to do, get your oil again at the top. And you just need to sprinkle that oil, because the good thing is this oil is going to go slowly and go to the bottom, yeah? Then the next thing you need to do, take your cover, seal your meat. Now. This is very, very important. We marinated our meat. Our meat is ready to be stored. When you're storing your meat, I always talk about this because it's very, very important. Some people imagine, oh, I've sealed it nicely. Yes, it is really nice and sealed. Oh, I can just put it on the top of the fridge. Do not put uncooked food on the top of your fridge. Put everything you want at the top of your fridge. Make sure your meat is at the bottom of your fridge. The main reason why they always talk about this is because if you put this cooked meat at the top of your fridge, that falls off. Everything in your fridge has to be binned. It has to be binned because everything will be contaminated. And that's why they tell you, put your uncooked food at the bottom of the fridge. At the bottom means most fridge have shelves and they always have a bottom shelf. If you feel you don't want to use your bottom shelf, you have a bottom drawer. Move the drawer or make sure your tin can actually fit in the bottom drawer. Put it down there and make sure it is sealed until it is ready to use. That's also another thing. If now I decide to put this in the fridge without my cover, that is going to contaminate everything inside that fridge. So that's why we tend to say, use cling film to cover it or make sure you have a cover. If you don't have any, marinate it and just cook it. Cook it, and when it is done, let it cool and then store it in the fridge when it is already cooked. But as long as it's uncooked, make sure it is at the bottom of the fridge, the right temperature, my cue, and you're going to be safe. Everybody who's going to be eating that meat or eating anything that's coming out of that fridge is going to be safe. So guys, so I've shown you a basic way of marinating your meat. Again, as I said earlier, if you need to know more of all my ingredients, today I've shown you a secret recipe for Scotch Kitchen. If you want to know all my recipe or all my ingredients that I'm using, you need to join patreon.com and you should be able to see all the ingredients that I've used to marinate my meat. The good thing with the ingredients that I use to marinate my meat, depending on the person I'm doing it for, or the occasion I'm doing it for, sometimes you'll realize I add a bit of chili, sometimes I don't add chili. Apart from that, some people are very particular, they like specific spices or they like specific tastes, so you have to be able to know your customers well. You have to be able to know the person you're preparing the food well, because you don't want to add too much spices or too little spices and they're not like sure. For the people who don't like spices, there you go. I can give you an easy way, because I know not everybody likes spices, but they would love to have a bit of flavor in their food. As easy as this, you can use lemon, ginger, garlic, a bit of salt, and you're good to go. You don't have to use any other spices. Okay, you don't like the taste of garlic and you don't like the taste of ginger. No problem. You can just use your lemon and you can use your salt. Oh, I don't like the taste of lemon. No problem. You can use vinegar. You can use vinegar and just salt. Marinate it with your vinegar and salt. grill it, or use your griddle, or use anything you want to, go ahead and serve it. So that is again for the people who don't like using a lot of spices. But if you like using a lot of spices, the main spices that I love in Scotch kitchen is paprika. You never go wrong with paprika. But now you need to realize this, because people ask me this question: which kind of paprika should I buy? Yes, there's different types of paprika. If you are not a really strong believer of spices, you just want a bit mild spice, when you're using a paprika, just use the plain paprika. Don't use the smoked paprika, and don't use the hot paprika. They are different. The hot one is definitely hot, but not too hot as chili. But you can be able to taste the difference of those three. Smoked, just plain. So it's just smoked paprika, just paprika, or hot paprika. You have those three. So you have three options. Some people use the smoked paprika and then they say, but the taste is a bit off. It's not off, it's smoked. That's why, that is the taste of smoked. It's smoked for you to have a smoky flavor. So again, if you just want the plain one, make sure you pick the correct paprika. And you should be able to see this with the colors. The plain paprika is it's red. It's proper red. It's bright, like bright red. And then you have the hot paprika. It's somehow subtle. It's not really bright red. And then you have the smoked paprika. It's really dark. It's really dark red. So you should be able to tell the difference between the three paprikas. I love using my paprika so much, and that's why I can be able to tell the difference between my paprikas. But again, I always say you never go wrong with paprika, or if you can get mixed spices, but be very careful when you're using your mixed spices, because if you use too much, it's not going to be edible. You just need maybe a teaspoon, half a teaspoon, and you're ready to go. Guys, I think that's the end of my video today. If you have any questions, you can always send me a message at the bottom, and then I will get back to you. I will try, if possible, to come back again and show you guys how I am preparing this. But if not, all you need to do, 180 degrees in an oven, arrange your meat at the top. You can have water at the bottom. Yeah? You understand what I mean? So you have your rack at the top. At the bottom, where you have your oven tray, you can have some water. Place your meat, so you have your meat, you have your rack, and then you have your oven tray at the bottom. The oven tray, that's where water is. The main reason why you have water also helps in the moisture, helping your meat stay moist. I love moist meat. Nobody likes dry meat because it tastes ill. But if your meat can retain enough moisture, that water should be able to help in retaining the moisture. Apart from that, yes, back to our healthy stuff. When your lovely oil, natural oil from your meat, or the oil we've used, when the meat starts cooking, it starts oozing off some water. And apart from the water, it will ooze off some fat as well from the meat. So that water actually absorbs, it doesn't absorb it, because water, you realize the oil is floating on the top of your water. So that one helps as well with your cleaning after. So all you will do is just remove your oven tray, drain off water, and then get that oil into the bin. Don't throw the oil directly in the sink. It's going to block your sink. So you drain off the oil, because the oil is floating anyway. Pick up your oil, put it in the bin, and then drain off your water in the sink. And that is going to really make your meat really nice and moist. I hope I've covered as much as possible within this short time. As I said earlier on, I'm going to try and do another video where I've bought all my spices, and then I'm going to chop them off in small portions for me to be able to explain to you guys in details, and also visually for you guys to be able to see how I'm actually doing that. For now, I have to now go and put my meat in and do my next thing. Thank you very much for joining. Keep on spreading the news about Scotch Kitchen, and I definitely hope that you're going to join patreon.com join our YouTube page, because what I tend to do is move these videos onto the YouTube page. And again, thank you very much for supporting Scotch Kitchen, and keep on watching. Have a lovely day. Bye bye.